Today, I'm here with like my favorite couple. I saw Sam and Ray on LinkedIn and the power of LinkedIn, I must say. But for me, LinkedIn is a very emotional thing. And that's something you don't hear a lot about LinkedIn because you do sort of see the soul and the heart of people. And that's what I saw with Ray and Sam. And so thank you for being on our Founders Friday video. We wanted to bring on people who, there's a lot of people, Ray and Sam, who start things. Very few people who start things from the heart and soul. Volunteer, wanting to make that impact, needing to make that impact. And so that is one of the reasons why I so wanted you on our Founders Friday show. So I'm going to start with you, Ray. I'm going to read the bio because it's worth reading. Now, I know bios can make people very uncomfortable because it's very difficult, talking about yourself when you've got a heart of gold, and you both do. You wouldn't be on the show if not. And it's very difficult to hear things about yourself. So you both will have to just forgive me. This is too important not to mention. I did try to pare it down. I couldn't. So Ray Domingo is a global lead technical recruiter with over a decade of experience in human resources, talent acquisition, technology, and community relations. Ray also served in the U.S. Air Force for 20 years as a security forces, interior electrician, and Air Force recruiting. So that career path right there, Ray, is a story. So promise to come back on and tell me about security forces, interior electrician, and Air Force recruiting. Okay, what a transition. Ray is an active community engagement leader assisting veterans, transitioning service members, military spouses, and military families with career transition into the civilian sector. Now that I've read your Air Force history, I would say without a doubt, you are a transition expert. Ray, I've seen a lot of people. May I be blunt and candid, please? I mean, we are on Founders Friday, so I'm asking for you to allow me to be blunt. There are a lot of people in this space who want to believe they are, and I give my heart and soul, and I champion them. But when I read a resume and a bio like this, you are a subject matter expert because you've lived it, you've walked it. You just don't talk it. So thank you. Ray is an active community engagement leader assisting veterans, transitioning service members, military spouses, military families with career transition into the civilian sector. Ray is currently on a stretch assignment with the Lockheed Martin Military Relations Team, is also part of the Lockheed Martin ERG Mil Vet team, and serves as the San Antonio Hiring Our Heroes MSEEZ Higher Pillar Co-Chair. Ray, what is MSEEZ? I know I should know that. Explain that.
Yeah, so this is always a tongue twister. So Sam, I'll let you explain it.
Okay, back to Sam.
It's with Hiring Our Heroes, the Military Spouse Economic Empowerment Zone.
I'm sorry, I should know that. And we're not going to cut that out. We don't, I should, the moment you said it, so shout out to Hiring Our Heroes. Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
Over the last 6 years, Ray has made meaningful contributions to his community in the San Antonio metro area. He co-founded LinkedIn Mill City in San Antonio. What else could you do? Before the isolating impact of COVID-19, this nonprofit held in-person meetups with hundreds of military spouses and veterans seeking employment and mentorship. Could there have been anything more important during that time, right? When COVID hit, the founders continued to provide this experience by pivoting their events from in-person to virtual. Through these efforts, they have connected San Antonio employers with job-seeking members of the military community. Ray and his wife Samantha are the founders of the K.E.Y, an all-volunteer force around the globe to connect military spouses and veterans with mentors throughout their career to leaders across multiple industries. This initiative has grown to include 150 volunteer mentors with representation from corporate America, small business, military installations, and nonprofit organizations. I have a question that I'll come back here. Ray has a Bachelor of Business Administration Management from Columbia Southern University, an Associate of Science in Electrical Engineering Technologies and Human Resource Management Services, Community College of the Air Force. When I'm going to go back to I have a list of questions, but this is so intense. I can't miss a thing, Ray, and you'll see that. In this span, how many years are we talking about everything I just read?
I say since 1995, so 25 plus years.
25 plus years. But it seems to me, Ray and Sam, that in the last 5, you guys really kicked it up.
Yes,
Can you
we
tell me
definitely
about
did.
the last 5 years, Ray? And
Yeah,
then we're going to
so
see you.
no, definitely, definitely. So I officially retired November 2015. I did security forces. I was an electrician, 12 years. My last 12 years in the Air Force, I was an Air Force recruiter. I was a marketer, trainer for Air Force recruiting, and I led my own team the last 4 years, and then I retired. Um, I thought the transition was going to be a lot easier, way easier, right? Turned out definitely a lot harder. My 15-page resume didn't work out. I didn't know how to interview. It took me 7 months to find a job after retiring. We had savings. Our savings started depleting really fast. I retired from Chico, California, and we decided to move to San Antonio, Mill City, USA, right? But we didn't have the network. We didn't have the family that were typically folks are typically have, right, whenever they transition, whatever, right. So we pretty much started from scratch, and we felt that there was a need, a missing piece to where it would help bring folks together. um, and I like to share this because a lot of folks don't really understand, right. I'm an introvert, I really am, but I have the ability to turn on the switch to be able to talk and get out of my comfort zone, right. So we started connecting with organizations, nonprofits. So we actually started doing like presentations and workshops. Within 5 years of retiring, I did a lot of contract work, right? So I was still trying to get familiar what contract life was, what full time role was. I've lost a couple contracts also along the way. So to where I went to work one day, I was employed, left work the same day without a job, right? So it was a shocker. But along the way, nonprofit organizations would still bring me in, do presentations, workshops. But in my mind, I was like, man, I feel kind of bad because they still invited me when I was unemployed. But the thing is, the experience I had recruiting for multiple companies definitely gave insight to folks that was also transitioning or looking for a new opportunity. And I kept that in mind. And Sam was saying that throughout the process, you have a lot of experience, you got to share it because folks are probably going through the same thing you are, and my main purpose and Sam's main purpose is to give hope. That's the biggest thing, is give hope. So we did presentations, and then we partnered up with Chuck Bunch and Quincy Harper, and we created LinkedIn Mill City. December 2018 is when Mill City was founded, right? When we launched it, we're like, you know what? At least 4 people is going to show up: me, Sam, Quincy, and Chuck, right? But couldn't find out when we started it, over 100 people showed up. I'm like, wow, this is amazing, right? But it continued to evolve. Each month got bigger. Um, Different locations hosted us for free, right? And thanks to Quincy Harper, he was actually the one founding finding these locations. And then we also had a LinkedIn Mill City actual meetup inside the Alamo. So they invited us. I'm like, yes, definitely, right? And then of course COVID happened, and then we put a pause, and then a couple months later we decided to go ahead and launch it virtually because there is that still missing piece, right, to where folks are looking, they're lost, right. And we've been there transitioning from the military. There's so many outlets that you can actually reach out to. but there are so many to where I'm like, man, I don't know who to reach out to, and I basically put myself in a cave, and I felt like I was at an island. I was with Sam, right? I felt like in a cave, looking for jobs, applying, and Sam, she knows exactly how I function, right? But I started closing down even more. So she started like writing notes on my shoes, my laptop, my chair, my car, on the bed, the fridge, the bathroom, you name it. There's notes all over the place. We got this, Ray. We're proud of you. We love you. So all like positive, notes that she put out there, right? So it kept me going, kept me pushing and stuff. But the main thing is our main purpose is to definitely give hope and to give guidance. And the only thing we ask folks is to once they land on their feet, to pay it forward, also to give back. That's our main purpose.
Ray, you've allowed me to be blunt. You've allowed me the you've given me permission to say what I need to on my own show. This is your ministry, Ray. You are called. So 3 or more gathered in his name. And what you've done in such a short amount of time, it may seem like, yes, all the experiences that you have, that you couldn't translate this into anything that you had expected. What you didn't expect was your following, Ray. You have a following. And for an introvert, that's difficult. I'm an introvert as well, believe it or not. I'm very persistent when it comes to try to find funding. So I hope that you and Sam will come on this show. Just keep coming on the show. Let us help you build your ministry, because that's what this is. And the fact that I've been brought in just for the small part of it means so much to me. All of the heartache, Ray, and all of the blind faith you had, because blind faith is hard, Ray. Blind faith is so hard, and you had it. You never gave up. Now to the angel Sam. I've seen many couples who are destroyed by this. The marriage, the family, the children, lives. And the fact that, you are Team Domingo. That is how you're known. That is how you are presented. Little did I know how Team Domingo is going to form this ministry of employment. I always thought ministry had to be about the Bible, about spirituality in church. It isn't. It isn't. The ministry. Could there be anything more important right now, Ray and Sam, than jobs, than a career? Women have walked out of careers, over 2 million of them now. 2 million have walked out of careers, and most of them can't come back or won't come back or don't know how to come back. So what you're doing, Ray and Sam, in this regard is going to be absolutely paramount. Now to Sam. Samantha Domingo, MBA, is a military talent and technical recruiter with over a decade of experience in human resources, talent acquisition, healthcare, technology, and community relations. What a ministry you both will have. She spent her life immersed in the military community as a military brat of a retired Air Force command chief and military spouse of an Air Force veteran. The enriching experience of living and traveling abroad for most of her life instilled an unfettered appreciation for cultural diversity, equity, equality, and inclusion. Samantha brings a unique perspective on talent acquisition and employer community outreach programs. In April 2020, Samantha brought her keen focus on military talent recruitment within technology to Amazon Web Services. She joined the Military Initiatives and Technical Apprenticeships team, where she leads sourcing efforts as a military technical recruiter. Prior to joining the AWS military team at Amazon, Samantha led hiring strategy, branding, and talent recruitment for military talent as part of Rackspace Technology, Diversity and Inclusion Initiatives. I did not know that. She also recruited technical talent for USAA strategic. You know what? I am so worthy. I'm so worthy, Sam and Ray. I'm gonna go on. She also recruited technical talent for USAA Strategic Staffing Solution and multiple startup organizations within the consulting industry. Samantha is an active community engagement leader assisting veterans, transitioning service members, military spouses, and military families with career transition to the civilian sector. Samantha serves on the Resource Committee as part of the Amazon Military Spouse Leadership Council and serves as the San Antonio Hiring Our Heroes, and I've got it, MSEEZ, didn't have to look down that time, Hire Pillar co-chair. During her time at Rackspace, she led the Rack Vet Employee Resource Group and sat on the board of directors with the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce on behalf of Rackspace Technology. Over the past 6 years, Samantha has made meaningful contributions to her community in San Antonio metro area. She co-founded LinkedIn Mill City in San Antonio before the isolating impact of COVID. I think that we went through that. Let's education, Master of Business Administration, University of Phoenix, Bachelor of Science in Health Administration, University of Phoenix, Associate of Science, Pre-Nursing Studies, Georgia Military College, Associate of Arts, Behavioral Science, Georgia Military Community, or Georgia Military College. Ray and Sam, how did you meet? How did you meet?
In Ramstein, Germany, when I was still in high school. So Ray had went to school at Ramstein High School, and our paths crossed. And so I've actually known Ray since I was 15 years old. We've been married for 23 years. We got married on my 18th birthday.
Oh my good. Children.
Yes. And now our children are 21 and 18. So, yeah.
It's time. I want to talk about it's time for your ministry. So I am so excited. The ideas in my head are just like popping, and we'll talk offline about that. I want to talk about K.E.Y. How did it start? Why did it start? When did it start? And how can funders and other nonprofits get on board? I'm going to go on mute for this one. Ray, want to take it first?
Yeah, definitely. So, um, I am a thinker. I think a lot, and I let Sam know. I'm like, I think I'm gonna build something new. She was like, "What is it, Ray? What are you building? Whatever you build, I got your back." I'm like, "It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good." So before I even talked to her about it, I made sure I, put in my notes. I talked to my nephew. Is actually the one that built this logo. So each pillar is actually each branch of the military. So there's six of them. So each pillar, right? So I got that together, and then I made up a name, Key, right? Keep elevating yourself, because we could help guide folks, like myself. People could let me know, do this, do that, do this, do that, right? But ultimately, it's on me to actually pursue things, go to events, get mentorship, get guidance, follow those mentorship, right? So that's why the key stands for keep elevating yourself, because folks, it's ultimately on the folks to attend these virtual events or meetings, or reach out to our mentors, right? So let Sam know. I think it's gonna be called the Key. She's like, the Key. I'm like, yeah, and I let her know, keep elevating yourself. She's like, okay, Ray, I got your back. No matter what you do, I got your back. I'm like, all right, perfect, right? So I started reaching out to folks that I personally know, as far as becoming a volunteer mentor. The first folks I reached out to was really like Quincy, folks that I personally know that were recruiters. And so far, I mean, everybody said yes. They are definitely down to volunteer, to get back, mentor, right? Because there's a lot of mentorship going around, either on LinkedIn, Facebook, or different platforms, right? But what we've done is we've vetted every single mentor that is part of the Key. They're all vetted. Either I personally know them, Sam personally knows them, or they were personally referred by current Key mentors, right? So that's one thing that I definitely take pride of, because everybody that is part of the Key mentorship group, we're all vetted. We're all like out there in that space, right? Some folks also, I've been following them on LinkedIn. They share so many great content, and I could tell they're introverts, right? I could tell they're introverts because they just share. They comment, right? But you don't really see them talking, like doing events or whatever, right? So I see them. So I reached out to them. I'm like, hey, I absolutely love your passion to give back. I see the content you share. It's amazing. Are you open to being part of Key Mentor? And I gave them a whole verbiage on what we do, what it's all about, right? And they said, yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, since then it evolved. We have right now we have 158 announced mentors. We have about 26 mentors that still has to be announced. So it's ongoing, right? It's ongoing. And on top of that, I've also, because the way the key actually evolved was Team Domingo. So we would do virtual events as Team Domingo, whether it's how to tailor your resume, interview techniques, LinkedIn workshop. I've also done recruiting workshops, right? On my time off, whether it's on a evening, on a Saturday. But it was kind of awkward. I told Sam, it's kind of awkward to have Team Domingo mentors. So I'm like, you know what? I had to make up something. So it was the key. The key. That's how the key evolved. So now we have a lot of mentors. We do at least one virtual event as the key mentor virtual panel, right? And on top of that, I do like on the fly. Like I'm off every Friday now with my current job, right, with Lockheed Martin. So I do a lot of virtual events also, whether it's interview techniques, how to tailor your resume, recruiting workshops. And it's a smaller venue, so I basically put out like an event or a post on LinkedIn, maybe about 3 to 4 days prior, so that way it's more intimate, right? For the key mentor virtual panel, we have the last one we had 35 mentors volunteer their time. It was from 6 p.m. To 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, so it was a long evening, but they love it and they share the same passion as we do. We break it out in different breakout rooms, so it actually benefits everybody, right? And we break it out in breakout rooms so that way it's shorter amount of folks instead of having 150 to 200 or more in one group, right? So now you have that interaction with a smaller setting. So, and yeah, that's pretty much how the key was created.
Ray, all this time, all this technology, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I bet you could use some funding to help offset some of the costs that perhaps you and Sam put in yourself. You don't have to answer that question here, but it would. By the way, I want to be a part of Team Domingo. Yeah, I like being a part of the key, but I want to be Team Domingo. You want to know why I contacted you, Ray? You and Sam haven't emailed that question to me yet. Ray, you put something on you answered a question of someone, and it directed me right to you because we weren't first connect on LinkedIn. I actually connected with you first over this sentence. You said, and I quote, you were a little aggravated with this person that was kind of whining about transition because you're I love that about you. But this person, Ray, they were just going on and on and on about, the woes of the world. And you said, and I quote, I memorize it, hey, either elevate it or let it go. And I just went, okay, I got to meet this person. I hope that's your tagline, because if you don't, I'm going to swipe that and call it my own. I'm just saying it in public, elevate it or let it go.
That's a good one.
Isn't that, you said it, Ray, and I'm just saying, if you don't trademark, and don't spend the money, because I won't take it. I won't, and if I do, it's yours. It's yours, because you put it was right there in a sentence. I won't say who was aggravating you. It's not worth it. But they were aggravating. You said, hey, period. Either elevate it or let it go. And that's how I see Team Domingo. So I do hope that you and Sam step back. Oh, I love that. Yes, it is the key, but there's something about being on Team Kloeppel. There people will say, "Oh, we love Casey and MSCC and Alvet jobs and military stuff." It's Team Kloeppel, and God forbid Sam and Ray, people are double Kloeppel. That's not a good thing. So I wouldn't want to be double Domingo. Okay, I'm just saying. If both of you got upset with me, I think it would be very, very hard. So let me ask you this. Tell me more about the future. I'm going to come off the key just for a moment, but Sam, I'm going to go back to this question in a moment. See, what does key mean to you? Because I can see where Ray started this, but what's become for you? Because it's different with veterans and spouses. It
It
just is.
is. It is. And kind of the inspiration behind doing what we do is like Ray had said, we would see mentors on LinkedIn, we would see mentors in different webinars, we would see great content posted, but not many likes or interactions with that content, and they usually had smaller networks. So what we wanted to do is ensure that we're elevating quality guidance, mentors that are truly passionate about our military community. So we actually opened up, I guess, in a way, our Rolodex of contacts that we would reach out to if someone reached out to us, so we could connect our community with additional leaders in this space. Um, for myself, being a military spouse, obviously you mentioned earlier with my degrees, we PCSed quite a bit, and it was very difficult for me to build a portable and competitive career. I really felt like when Ray retires, then it's my turn, then I can start a career, like I can focus on something, I can figure out what my passion is, and it shouldn't be that way. So that's a lot of why we try to advocate and connect people to opportunities, not just entry level, but corporate opportunities, even if it's not just for the organization that we're recruiting for or working with. Um, a lot of what we've done over the last, especially I'd say 3 or 4 years, has been volunteer, and it's been volunteer for a reason. Oftentimes, we would see events being created, and they were money motivated or money driven, whether it's from corporate sponsors or from grants for nonprofits. And we felt that if you truly feel a passion to uplift and elevate our military community, volunteering that time has so much more value, I guess, than expecting compensation for it. So our hope was we could inspire and grow more leaders, elevate them, and hopefully move them into corporate opportunities or nonprofit opportunities or entrepreneur opportunities, to where they can continue to advocate and elevate others in our community, whether they're veteran spouses that have gotten out of the military, active duty military life prior to us, or military spouses that are struggling to build a portable career, or transitioning military. I think when Ray got out of the Air Force, we really approached it like a PCS, not like a transition. We were both overseas military brats, and then he joined the military. I almost joined 3 times, and it was like that was our home, the military community. Wherever you go, if it's there, that's your home. So when he got his blue ID card, I felt it. Like I was not prepared for the impact it had on our family. I was not prepared for even the mental impact it would have on myself once he got that blue ID card, because then it felt like we were outside of the club. And then we were overwhelmed with all these resources, and we didn't know how to ask for help because we didn't even know where to start. We didn't know what we didn't know, so we didn't know what help we needed until we couldn't find employment. And I think Ray will talk about too how that was when he realized what it was like every time we PCS and I had a job hunt to try and find a job. He would say to me, like, I get it now, Sam. And so when he had lost his role, and then for the first time ever, it was on me to keep the house, the compensation coming in, the house stabilized. Then I finally understood how he felt over all of those years, where he would get up in the morning no matter how he felt, right? Where he'd deploy, and so I think during that time, it was something a little bit off topic, but something you mentioned earlier about the strains on a marriage. What I started to realize is that many different events, you'll just have the service member attending. They didn't bring their military spouse or engage their children in decision making. Or you would have, if it's a military spouse focused event, very rarely would you see the military member or veteran or transitioning military on those virtual webinars or attending those events with their spouse. So one thing that kind of Team Domingo, we were named that by Serafina de los Santos out at JBSA, but it stuck, and we owned it because we realized that oftentimes people focus on transitioning military is transitioning and resources for them. And in the past, you would see, how do you support your service member through their transition versus how do you find that stability or establish your career so that the transition can be easier for your entire family. So I think the future I'd like to see is that we continue to grow leaders. We continue to connect our community to resources that work for them, not just for whatever company we're working for or recruiting for. Because, the our community is so humble, right? We're very modest, and even in interviewing, we use we a lot, not just service members, but also military brats / military spouses that have grown up in this community. We're all about team, which is great, but sometimes we forget to care for ourselves. And so with the key, when it came to elevating, yourself, I saw the key as a reminder for our community to tell them that it's okay for you to take control of your career journey or your life journey. It's okay to reach out to your community that understands where you're coming from, and they'll do real talk. So when you say real talk, I'm like, yes, real talk, because we need that. That's our community needs that. We need honest, real talk, and there is also a way to deliver and be tactful in how you share that real talk. But I think I don't know. I could talk about this forever. The key is something that we found to be very beneficial for those that don't know where to start. They can reach out to a VP at a banking and financial company that has the career path that they're wanting to emulate or wanting to consider. They can reach out to a HR professional at a retail company if they want. Like, we have mentors all across the board in mental health, in multiple industries, in multiple levels, and it's our hope to show that our military community can have a successful career path, whether they're married to the military or they're transitioning out or separating. So,
I
yeah,
see.
long answer.
No, and that's why we're going to schedule, at least 3 more of these, at least, because what I see here with Team Domingo, and I hope you trademark that name, okay? We did a conference called Dynamic Military Marriages. This was years ago, and installations lined up for that conference, and it was just me and another person, and I was running this organization. I would hope that you and Ray would consider looking at what we did years ago and taking it. There is no finer couple I've met than the 2 of you, and I've been in this a long time. I'm in my 18th year. And so let's discuss this, sending you out 2 installations on this dynamic military marriage mission, if you will. I also see a second prong to this. I see real talk about transition. I see it. And it wasn't until Dan transitioned into civilian life that he really understood, and I might choke up here, that's okay, I'm a grandma. Grandmas are allowed to tear up.
You've made me tear up and almost want to cry 3 times so far.
That's why because when you said, I'm like, okay, Samantha. So I tried to kind of back off of that, but I think the most emotional part for me was, I think husbands or spouses forget, the military members forget, not that you did, Ray, but military members forget how much we love military too. And all of a sudden, Sam and Ray, I wasn't a part of something that I was giving my life to. And there was no resources out there for me at that point just to talk about the emotions of not being an active duty military spouse anymore. So that's the second prong. I see Team Domingo. But while you guys hit it on the head, you hit the nail on the head, both of you. You're giving access to people that many people in the military would never have access to. I remember Dan saying that when he was first in, he never met a flag officer. He never met an admiral, never met a general. Now he has many people on his LinkedIn. Admiral, I know you're retired, but and it just makes him feel so good, that access. So as you and Ray move forward in this, Sam, as you both move forward in this ministry mission, allow nonprofits like mine, when you're ready, to not just give you access, blow it open. Let's get CEOs on there. Let's get diversity officers on there. Let's get admirals on there. Let's get service chief spouses on there because they want the connection. They do. They don't know how. They're too busy to have videos like this. So I think with Team Domingo, that third process is let's not just give them access, let's provide it. Let's provide it. I mean, I could do with what we're doing right here. So this is not my last question because we are going to, if you're ready, make this a thing with the three of us, hopefully monthly. Okay, I want to do the same thing with TAPS. What is the bright future for Team Domingo? Ray?
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely answer. I think I always let Sam know this.
Oh, Ray? I'm sorry.
Oh, perfect. Now I'm good. Oops, I'm talking to myself. All right. So yeah, because for a while there, I talked to Sam a lot about my thoughts and how I'm feeling and stuff. Um, you know, After retiring, it was definitely an eye opener for me. And like I let Sam know, and she also brought it up. I never really realized what military spouses went through till that time of the moment of my life. Right, took me 7 months to find a job, and then throughout the process of me transitioning, losing contract roles. Right, because when I first lost my contract, it took me another 6 months to find a job. Right, so it was tough. It was definitely tough. It had me questioning myself if all I did in the Air Force was worth it, right? Um, we saved up prior to retiring, but that savings depleted really fast, extremely fast. And like you were saying, there's a lot of couples that probably wouldn't have made it through what we did, but we did. We
We
made it
got
through.
close.
It is,
We did
yeah,
get close.
you did.
The struggle was real, and we realized because he would always look to me for his happiness to make him feel better, and I'd always look to him. But it was the
Oh,
first time I think we had to go on our own journey. You know what I mean? We had to figure out what it was that we wanted under the same roof. We stayed together. I don't know how we made it through, but we made it through. And I think it came down to maybe our passion aligned because we were like, it shouldn't be this hard. Our savings again depleted. Our cars almost both got repoed. It was very uncomfortable because we had great credit when he got out. So it was a rough period. Sorry, I had to interject there.
No, no,
Real
it's so
talk.
true.
so
It's so true.
these are your credentials, your certifications, your degrees, your experience. This should be enough for the both of you to get a job anywhere on the planet with at least 75,000 starting pay. And yet, cars almost repoed, and your finances almost depleted, and you're raising two children, and you served your country beautifully, and yet that happened. So, Team Domingo, we will continue this conversation because, as I said, I see it three-pronged. So when we get off this video, whatever you're uncomfortable with, we will edit it out. But I'm 65 years old this year. I've lived 65 years. I know what I see. And I see a dynamic military marriage that didn't end when many did. We see those spouses who are divorcing in shelters, some incarcerated. We help them all. We help every woman, every spouse that comes to us, no matter what their condition. But to have Team Domingo out there, and you both said it, did I catch this right, Sam? You said there was Ray's journey, there was your journey, but once Ray transitioned, it became a dual journey. It became a couple journey. Did I hear that right? And that was the time when the surprises came. Even with all of this experience, all of this experience. I want to get back one thing, Sam, so we can talk about that. I know you have the purity of your mission. No, I get all volunteer. I get that. We try to remain as pure at MSCC and in K.E.Y as we can. But at the end of the day, if I've got a funder who I know would just love this, I'm going to send them your way, and surely to offset some cost for your growth. I guarantee you, after the release of this video, you're going to have growth. And that's not me. That's not my organization. That's just people who are going to just say, how can I help? I could be wrong. We release a video. We make people feel really good. Oh, I can't wait for the next one. Great. But I don't see that here. I see a couple who's been together how many years, Sam? Ray, how many
Married
years?
married 23.
23 years. Okay. Through it all. Okay. I cannot think of a finer couple at this point to represent, elevate. You either elevate it or let it go. Because there's got to be something, everything in your life needs to be elevated. And I think the key is Team Domingo. I mean, surely I'm not the only one that sees that. So I love you both. I love you both for the struggle. I love you both for understanding that it wasn't failure. It wasn't failure. You both coined it. It's the journey, but most couples don't make it out of that journey. So promise me that you both will come back. Ray, a closing thought to your followers, please, because you have so many, me included.
Yeah, I say in closing, you know, it's definitely a team thing. And I always let folks know this. I'm like Sam's biggest cheerleader and vice versa. And I always tell Sam this also. Her accomplishment is my accomplishment. My accomplishment is hers. We try to help elevate each other. We try to help elevate folks around us. And I get sometimes I tell Sam, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I got this message. Oh man, I get
He
I
gets his
sometimes
feelings
I
hurt.
do.
It really hurts his feelings when people reach out. So every virtually does, he'll talk about the iceberg illusion because he's like, it may look like I've never failed or like everything's great, but I promise you, it, it comes from a place of a lot of struggle and pain and frustration and actually getting comfortable with failure. You have to be comfortable with that and realize that it's not a failure, it's a learning experience, or it's meant to put you on the path you're supposed to be on.
Yeah, so if you have a spouse, a significant other, definitely help elevate them while you're active duty. Even after you're active duty, right? Because I'm so glad that Sam pushed, grinded, got her education, continued to keep on working wherever we moved, right? Because I think if because I was definitely struggling after retired. Even after a couple years, I was still struggling. Not just mentally but physically. I stopped going to the gym. I was so used to going to the gym, while I was active duty. But I think she, and I still till this day I thank her. She carried us along the way till I finally landed a full-time job, because there was at one point to where I let Sam know we might have to move San Antonio. I can't find a job somehow, somewhere. We might have to move. And then Lockheed Martin reached out to me for a full-time job. I'm like, yes, finally, right? And that's after retiring, with, I think, almost 4 years, right, Sam? That's when I started with Lockheed Martin. So 4 years
Yep.
later, I finally landed a full-time job.
Wow. Thank you, Ray. Sam, closing remarks before our next video.
This has been an amazing experience. Thank you so much for having us. And I had to hold back tears like at least 4 or 5
Oh,
times because of your honesty and your warmth and your passion for our community. And you're genuine. So it's like you understand where we come from. You also probably blew up our heads a little bit. So when I leave my office, I might hit my head on the doorway a little. No, I won't. I'm 4'11". But I'm I'm I honestly feel like after our conversation, I'm going to be speechless because I'm just so deeply humbled. You see the big picture of what our intentions are. Ray and I have had the conversations about creating a nonprofit, and looking at the potential of funders and things like that. I think we struggle with that desire to ensure folks are engaging and doing it because they want to, and it's because it's a passion, and that's what we've always kind of done with LinkedIn Mill City, with Quincy and Chuck, and then with the K.E.Y. So we definitely have some things to talk about, which Ray has been trying to conversate about too. But I guess we're just deeply humbled to be given that platform to share our stories. Um, I love to say, life begins at the end of your comfort zone, because although I'm an extrovert, I always get nervous before any virtual event, anything like this. In person, it's a little bit easier because you can feed off the energy of a room. But I'm just deeply humbled, and I love this guy. He's my ride or die. So
And,
yeah.
and I will say to both of you, I truly see, if not a nonprofit, growth. And it's how you grow now. And so take a deep breath, because I think it's going to launch, and soon. Okay? Love to both. I did not mean for this to be a military spouse. This is the month of the military spouse, and I think we just gave the best interview out there, and we didn't even mean to do a military spouse event, but my gosh, you have to look at this marriage and the dynamics and the spirituality and the emotion, and the fact that neither one of you are afraid of failure, because failure is all a part of it. It's just a part of it, all right? So love to both. We'll schedule another interview. Go away today from this interview knowing that growth is going to happen. Are you ready? Love to both. Bye.
Thank you so much.